It really brings me no joy to tell you this, but the U.S. bishops are not going to stop on the immigration issue in the United States. They're not going to stop organizing against the lawfully elected government, doing what the Catechism of the Catholic Church tells us is within the lawful purview of the government when dealing with migrants and those with a refugee status. The lawful purview of the government, according to the teachings of the church, is that the government of any country has the right to determine who can come into a country legally and who cannot. The government has that right. Yes, Christians are supposed to be a little more welcoming of people, especially those who have a legitimate case. But the bishops in this case have never one time acknowledged the fact that quite a few of the estimated 30 million or more people who are here illicitly are breaking laws and or taking advantage of laws and illegally using those laws to their advantage, that they have essentially no right to their claims. The U.S. bishops have been profiting from this enormously. And it's unfortunate they are not going to go down without a fight because, again, they have made billions upon billions of dollars with this. So they have commissioned a new study, and it is my sad duty to report to you that they are at least giving us confirmation of one thing, that there are far more people in the United States illicitly than we thought there were. They say this because it appears that 10 million self-identified Christians of all stripes are likely to be removed from the country if Trump's activities continue, and there is no reason to think that they will not continue. We go here to Vatican News, which uses its official authority to amplify the message of the bishops and give it credence. You are expected as a Catholic to follow through with what they're demanding here. And be reminded, error has no rights. You have no duty to actually support when they're telling you to do something that violates the laws of Caesar when it is within the rightful purview of Caesar. Meaning, this is within the lawful authority of the secular governments by the very teachings of the church. This is what happens when you serve mammon, when you serve wealth, money. That is your principal aim as an Episcopal conference. Headline from Vatican News: 10 million Christian migrants in the U.S. risk large-scale removal, report says. A report released by the U.S. bishops in collaboration with Protestant churches and organizations highlights that 1 in 12 Christians in the U.S. is either vulnerable to deportation or lives with someone who is, and calls on Christians to stand with their fellow believers. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The Catechism, all the way going back to St. Thomas Aquinas, probably back further than that, all say the same thing. That secular authorities have the right to determine who can enter a country and by what means, and what the standard is for allowing them in. Those standards are to be set by Christians. And we're supposed to use our faith to help inform that process. But as a general rule, Caesar has the right to determine who can come and who has to go. And when we're talking about people entering illicitly, that's becomes a problem. Because the flip side of that coin is that those who migrate from one place to another have the duty to follow the laws of the land, including on the manner of entry. That seems lost on people. In fact, that never factors in to the bishop's defense of things, other than with a little lip service, like was seen with, I believe, Father James Martin speaking about this in an American Magazine article recently that I cited in a live stream several days ago. Here are the details from this report. Note the ecumenical nature of this, because not only Catholic organizations caught up in this federal funding, it's also Lutheran organizations and various other Protestant groups. Quote, over 10 million Christian immigrants in the United States are vulnerable to removal, including those with temporary protections that could be revoked, according to a report released by U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, along with the National Association of Evangelicals, World Relief, and the Center for the Study of Global Christianity. Nearly 7 million U.S. citizen Christians live within the same households of those at risk of removal. 18% are Catholics and 6% are evangelicals, and add to the many others belonging to other faiths, the findings say. Titled One Part of the Body, the report aims to raise awareness in U.S. Christian congregations on the impact of deportation policies, particularly under the Trump administration, on members of their own religious community who, as part of the same body of Christ, deserve our compassion. Just as the hand cannot go about its business unaffected if the foot is in debilitating pain, whenever one part of the church is suffering, the whole is called to suffer alongside, explains the introductory letter to the report, signed among others by Bishop Mark Seitz of El Paso, chairman of the Bishops' Committee on Migration. The moral obligation of compassion, the signatories remark, extends to all people, regardless of their religious beliefs, who are made in the image of God with inherent dignity. The report highlights that many immigrants, both undocumented and documented, are integral members of the Christian community. While the majority are lawfully present, a significant number are vulnerable to removal due to precarious or absent legal status. This vulnerability is of particular concern in light of President Trump's pledge to carry out large-scale removal, potentially targeting 20 million people. End quote. It's nice to see the U.S. bishops throw away that number that has been in our lexicon since the 1990s, claiming there's only been 11 million people here. Most serious looks at this think there's 30 to 40 million people. The president wants to get rid of 20 of them. He wants to probably get rid of all of them, but there are logistics problems beyond that. But note what the bishops are doing. They're calling you to resist the lawful authority of Caesar. Wonderful, guys. What could go wrong? Now, they have every right to tell you to participate in a political process and, contact your congressman and all that. They have every right to seek the rules to be changed, just like anybody else in the United States. You could argue that they have a moral obligation to make sure that the system is fair and compassionate and recognizing the inherent dignity of people, that we don't send people who don't belong in that new jail in El Salvador, for example, or in that jail in Cuba, that we don't send them there unless they really deserve to be there. That's fine. I would probably even agree with much of that. But to say that those who have come in violation of the actual laws of the land, and that we are to just turn a blind eye to their violation of the laws of the land, laws that were just, that's a bit much. That goes against not only common sense, not only against the will of the people, the same people who preach synodality and dialoguing and inclusion and listening to the unheard voices and all that stuff, the same people. They tell us this, while telling us that those of us who have good reason to fear for social stability, for the common good because of this issue, they tell us that we're in the wrong. Not to mention something that's rarely ever brought up, except apparently by me, which is most of the time, those brought in illicitly receive help from non-governmental organizations for the purpose of being exploited for a variety of reasons, including some pretty nasty, impure, evil ones, as well as just some blatantly corrupt ones, like political purposes, cheap labor, that kind of thing. All of it's bad. Exploitation of human beings is never good. And the fact that the U.S. bishops are part and parcel of this, are party to this, for money, please pray that they do some deep introspection. I'm curious what you have to say about this. Let me know in the comments. You're like me. You're not surprised that they're not letting this go, are you? I warned people back in January that unfortunately I'm going to have to start covering politics, at least stuff that targets the Catholic Church, because frankly, I could see this conflict coming. And this is not a secular political channel by any stretch, and I'm not going to talk to you about the woes of the stock market or the rest of it unless it has something to do with the church, but the bishops made it clear, and Doge made it clear, that a conflict was coming between the church and the state. Here we are. And the church looks like it's on the wrong side of this. Not how I would have expected a conflict between the church and the U.S. government to go, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. That is sharing this on social media. That helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.